Chima could not sleep after the strange dream. He lay in his bed staring at the ceiling, his heart heavy with fear. The spirit's warning rang in his ears. Return the mask or face the consequences. He knew he should listen, but something inside him didn't want to let go of the mask. It had given him power, something he had always dreamt of. Without the mask, he would go back to being ordinary, just another young man in the village. For days, Chima avoided the mask, trying to pretend it didn't exist, but the mask wasn't easy to ignore. At night, he heard whispers. Sometimes he thought he saw shadows moving in his room. His dreams grew worse. The spirits appeared more often, their eyes glowing in the dark, their voice growing louder. Return the mask. As the days passed, Chima's fears grew. He didn't dare tell anyone about the mask. What would they think of him? No one would believe that the long-lost Ijele mask had been hidden in an old shrine, waiting for someone to find it. And even if they believed him, what would they do? The elders would probably take the mask from him and hide it again. Chima didn't want that. He wanted to keep the power even if it scared him. But he knew the mask was dangerous. Every time he looked at it lying in the corner of his room, he felt uneasy. The hollow eyes seemed to watch him, like they were alive, waiting for him to make a mistake. The mask was more than just a piece of wood. It was something dark, something that didn't belong in this world. One night, after another terrible dream, Chima made the decision. He had to get help. There was only one person who might understand what was happening to him. Baba Nkem, the village elder who knew the old ways. Baba Nkem was wise and respected by everyone in the village. He was said to have a deep connection with the spirit world. The next morning, Chima made his way to Baba Nkem's house. It was a small hut in the edge of the village, surrounded by tall trees. As Chima approached, he felt a chill in the air. The sun was shining, but the path to Baba Nkem's house felt dark, as if something unseen was watching him. When Chima reached the hut, he hesitated. What would he say? Would Baba Nkem even believe him? Before he could change his mind, the old man stepped out of his house. Chima, Baba Nkem said, his voice soft but firm. I have been expecting you. Chima's heart skipped a beat. How could Baba Nkem know? He hadn't told anyone about the mask, but Baba Nkem only smiled and motioned for Chima to sit. You carry a heavy burden, my son, Baba Nkem said, sitting down beside him. Tell me what troubles you. Chima took a deep breath and told the elder everything. He told him about the shrine, the mask, the visions and the spirit's warnings. Baba Nkem listened without interrupting, his face calm but serious. When Chima finished, Baba Nkem was silent for a moment, then he sighed deeply. You have found the mask of Ijele, Baba Nkem said. It is as I feared. The mask was hidden for a reason. It is not meant for the living to use. The spirits of the ancestors guard it, and they do not forgive easily. Chima's stomach twisted with fear. What should I do? How can I stop the spirits from haunting me? This mask is powerful, Chima, but it is not yours to keep. Baba Nkem said, the spirits demand that you return it to the shrine. If you do not, they will take back what is theirs in their own way, and it would not be gentle. Chima felt a cold sweat break out on his skin. But what if I return it? Will they leave me alone? Baba Nkem looked at him. His eyes said, perhaps, but there is always a price to pay for using the power of the spirit world. The spirits may ask for something in return. Chima left Baba Nkem's house feeling more confused than ever. He had hoped the elder would give him an easy solution, but it seemed there was no way out. The only choice he had was to return the mask, but the thought of giving it up filled with dread. The mask had given him a taste of power, and now without it, he felt weak. For the next few days, Chima stayed away from the mask. He couldn't bring himself to return it yet, but he also couldn't face putting it on again. His sleep became restless, and the visions came even when he was awake. He saw shadowy figures in the corners of his vision, and sometimes when he was alone, he heard whispers calling his name. Chima. The villagers also seemed to change around him. People began to avoid him. Their eyes filled with suspicion. Even his parents noticed something was wrong. You've been acting strange, Chima, his mother said one evening as he sat by the fire. Are you sure everything is alright? Chima forced a smile. I'm fine, Mama, just tired. But inside, he was anything but fine. The pressure was building, and he knew he couldn't run from the spirits. forever. The mask was becoming a curse, and if he didn't return it soon, he feared what would happen. One night, Chima couldn't take it any longer. The whispers, the dream, the fear, it was all too much. He had to return the mask. He had to end this nightmare before it destroyed him. With shaking hands, he wraps the mask in a cloth and slipped out of the house, carefully not to wake his parents. The village was quiet as Chima made his way toward the forest. The moon was high, casting long shadows across the ground. Every sound seemed louder in the silence. The crunch of leaves under his feet, the rustle of branches in the wind. Chima's heart raced as he approached the path that led to the old shrine. The journey felt longer this time. The forest seemed darker, the trees taller, and the air heavier. Chima couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching him from the shadows, but he pushed on, determined to end the course once and for all. Finally, for what felt like hours, he reached the shrine. It looked just as it had before, small, overgrown with vines, forgotten by time. But now it felt different. The air around the shrine was cold, and Chima could feel the presence watching him, waiting. With trembling hands, he unwrapped the mask and placed it on the ground in front of the shrine. "I'm sorry," he whispered, his voice barely audible. "I didn't mean to take it. Please forgive me." For a moment, nothing happened. The forest was silent, and Chima felt a brief moment of hope. Maybe it was over. Maybe the spirit would let him go. But then, the ground beneath his feet began to tremble. Chima's heart leaped into his throat as the air around him grew thick with a strange heavy energy. The shrine seemed to glow in the moonlight, and a deep rumbling sound filled the air. Slowly out of the darkness, a figure began to appear. It was the Ijele masquerade, just like in his dreams, towering with layers of cloth and beadings shimmering in a faint light. The Ijele seemed larger than life. Its eyes glowed a bright red, and its presence was overwhelming. Chima felt his knees weakening as the figure moved closer, the ground shaking with each step. "You have taken what is not yours," the voice boomed, echoing through the forest. "You have used the power of the spirits without permission." Chima felt his knees trembling. "I'm sorry, I didn't know. Please forgive me." The jailer stared down at him, his glowing eyes unblinking. "There is always a price to pay," the voice said again, deeper this time. "The power of the spirit is not given freely. You must return what you have taken and pay for your actions." Chima's breath caught in his throat. What did that mean? Who would the spirits take from him? Before he could ask, the ground beneath him cracked, and darkness began to rise around him, swirling like smoke. "Wait, please!" Chima shouted, but his voice was swallowed by the growing darkness. The jailer stepped forward, and the last thing Chima saw was his glowing eyes burning into his soul, and everything went blank.